Welcome to the regular meeting of the Danville City Commission this evening, August the 12th, 2019. The hour is 5:32, and I will call us all to order and ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Atkins.
Okay. Well, let's be led in a moment of silence today. We've had some of those unpopular events happen throughout our country again the last couple of weeks, and we don't want to take them for granted. So please bow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you'll stand, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner, unless I hear otherwise, I will assume that the agenda meets your approval. And we'll move right on into the section we call Hear the Public. And this is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the podium and microphone to address any item that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be an opportunity later on to address any item that is not on tonight's agenda. So anyone have anything to say about any subject on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move right ahead. Item 1 is the retirement recognition of one Patrick McQueen, Danville Police Department.
Mayor, commissioners, city managers, come on up here. It's my last chance to get to roast him.
Got a lot to say there.
No, just kidding. Detective Sergeant Patrick McQueen, 508, badge number. Pat graduated from the Department of Criminal Justice Training in January of 1999 and started here at Danville on, of all days, April Fool's Day of that same year.
It worked though.
Pat proved to be a very quick and logical learner, and after a short period of time, about 4 years, Pat was assigned to investigations and promoted to sergeant pretty much at the same time. While assigned to investigations, Pat worked numerous cases that run the gamut from forgeries at banks in the mornings to the afternoons. He'd be working drug buys with informants. It seemed like at one stretch I can remember that Pat worked just, I don't know how many just complicated white-collar financial crime cases. But there was plenty of burglaries, robberies, and even throw a homicide or two in there. Pat had a strong desire to be good, to be thorough. And his excellence in presenting paperwork to the grand jury just complemented the already investigation section of the Danville Police Department. Pat received many compliments about his paperwork, his thoroughness, and completeness of his casework, not only in the circuit court of states, but also in the federal court cases that Pat handled. He had many accomplishments during his career. One of them I can definitely remember was we was hitting a house, I think on Duncan Hill. Pat was supposed to be the first one to go in. Had a misstep, ended up being the last one to go in. The whole SWAT team just ran over him inside the house. Pat was he was a sergeant for our SWAT team, He was the leader of that team when that first SWAT group that we sent to training for 2 weeks. That was trained by a Navy SEAL. They had no idea what they were getting into when they went to that training. That first weekend they came back, they had boots off, blisters on their feet. They've been running in, combat boots and all that good stuff. But Pat troopered through it and was a leader for that first SWAT unit that we had. Pat got a lot of accomplishments. We have a career development program that the state puts on. There's about 7 pins or certificates that you can earn in that career development program. Pat has 4 of those pins or certificates. He has the law enforcement supervisor pin, the advanced law enforcement officer, the law enforcement investigator, and the advanced law enforcement investigator. The last couple of years of Pat's career, he stepped away from investigations, which is customary for a lot of detectives to do as they near retirement, just to step back, quit taking cases, and allow the cases they've got to clear through the system and they can ease on out. Even though he went back to patrol, I wouldn't call Pat really easing out. During those last couple of years, Pat was a mentor to the young officers that we had. He's been more than a mentor. Many times when, in the last couple of years when we were short-staffed, we could always count on Pat to be a supervisor on night shift for us when we were short-staffed during those times. Pat is a morally centered officer. He always had officer safety at the top of his priority. He always believed in doing things the right way. And he was an exemplary example of what a role model police officer, detective, sergeant for the Danville Police Department is supposed to be. Pat, the city of Danville and the Danville Police Department can never repay you for your selfless acts of service during your 20-year career here. I want to thank you for your professionalism, dedication, and leadership, but most of all, I want to thank you for your friendship. Pat moved to investigations shortly after I did, and we knocked and countered and talked and discussed cases for 16 years. It's been a heck of a ride. There's been ups, and like I said, there's been downs. I'm sorry we stepped on you. But I think that, and I know you will, enjoy your retirement. So my friend, I wish you calm seas and fair winds in your retirement and your future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think the mayor has a gift for you.
Officer,
Yes, sir.
pretty obvious you're going to be missed around here.
I think so.
Pretty obvious you left a nice mark.
I tried.
What do
Gave
you-
it my best.
Yeah, I think that's been proven out tonight. What are you going to do in retirement?
Well, for now, just a little bit of nothing. I was telling them earlier, I look back, for 31 years, I've had a schedule, and I don't have one now, and I'm going to enjoy it for just a couple of 3 weeks.
Good deal.
Then I'll figure something out.
Well, you're always welcome to come back and visit and harass them and keep them in line and all that kind
They're
of stuff.
busy. I know they're swamped. Ain't got time for me to take up their time.
On behalf of the City Commission and the City of Danville, we want to present you with this wonderful case knife, and hope you enjoy it and look at it many times and try to remember all the good times.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And with With that, he's out the door. That quick. That's nice.
He said just for 2 or 3 months you might be inactive.
Item 2 is the introduction of our Parks and Rec Supervisor, Mr. John Bell, accompanied by,
A new staff member, sort of. I don't even think I was employed by Danville, Boyle County Parks and Recreation yet when I started to understand the significance that John Kokenauer had with the community. So within about the first hour I was employed, became my desire and objective that I was not going to be able to replace him. So instead of continuing to look for a program coordinator, I created the position of recreation supervisor. The park board agreed with me that John Kokenauer cannot be replaced and that we needed to create something new to handle those duties. So they supported me in the decision to create a new full-time position of recreation supervisor. I discussed it briefly with Evan, the possibility of the job, and told him with the timing, everything, he had 6 weeks and a piece of paper to impress me, enough to be considered for the job. And as I began to see the qualifications that he had, it became to, I don't want to say obvious, but I started to see the light that he could do the job. We went through an exhaustive application and interview process of one, and brought Evan in, met with him, and at the end of it, I was more impressed and knew that I had the right person for the job. He is a local candidate. He is in-house. It has created another opening within our department that we'll be looking to fill again, but transferred Evan over from maintenance division over to recreation supervisor, and I am very excited on a personal and professional basis to introduce Evan Teague as our recreation supervisor. I think his philosophies, experience, education, and desires match mine, and look forward to what we're going to be able to accomplish moving forward. So our new recreation supervisor for Parks and Recreation is Evan Teague. Now he wants to talk, right?
Well, I wasn't planning on talking, but I will say thanks for having me and introduced me. Likewise, I look forward to working with John. We've sat down, we've talked. We are pretty much on the same page with things, and we look forward to the future of building parks and recreation.
so do we.
Tell him a little bit about yourself. He said you was a hometown guy, so let's find out if you're hometown or not.
Well, I guess technically I'm not too hometown since I'm west end of Bull County down here in Perryville, but I'll consider myself a hometown kid, so.
That's right.
That's right.
Perryville counts.
That's right. It does. It does.
Evan, you paid your dues, and you're a new father this year too, aren't you?
Yes.
Congratulations.
4 months old tomorrow, so not only is the new job keeping me busy, I got a 4-month-old. It's keeping me pretty busy as well. So, thank you all again.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, man. He's a Boyle County crowd. He didn't say it, did he? Trying to get him to say it. He's a Perryville Bulldog.
Well, County, Perryville, same difference.
Item 3 is a proclamation, and I'd like to ask all those that are present for this proclamation to come join me down front.
Oh, yeah.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Yeah, she said so.
Well, I never looked so good, did I? Ladies, this is a proclamation of Everybody Eats Week, August 25th through September 1st, 2019. Whereas Danville, Kentucky recognizes that food insecurity now affects more than 40 million individuals in the United States, which means that 1 in 8 households have difficulty providing enough food for all of its members. And whereas Danville, Kentucky recognizes that 24% of its citizens suffer from food insecurity and is committed to raising awareness to combat food insecurity. And whereas Grace Cafe will participate in National Everybody Eats Week, a campaign hosted by One World Everybody Eats. And whereas One World Everybody Eats is a nonprofit charity that aims to build community and dignity around food, and whereas National Everybody Eats Week aims to unify the efforts of over 50 affiliate Pay What You Can community cafes working to combat hunger across the nation. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Paris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 12th day of August 2019 do hereby call upon all citizens of Danville to observe the week of August 25th through September the 1st, 2019 as Everybody Eats Week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, my pleasure. Certainly. You want to... You want to say something? Oh, sorry about that. I took your head off.
Thank you so very much, Mayor Peros
Yes, ma'am.
and City Commissioners. Just really quick, you know I can't go without talking about this issue. According to Feeding America, over 41 million people in the United States are food insecure, and the annual food budget shortfall totals just over $21 million. In comparison, according to the USDA, each year Americans spend more than $500 billion eating at full service and limited service restaurants. At Grace Cafe, which is part of the One World Everybody Eats national network of independent nonprofit cafes, we are so pleased to be participating in the first annual National Everybody Eats Week, August 25th through August 21st. This is a nationally coordinated campaign to help consumers understand the power they have to end hunger in their own community. We encourage all Americans to dine at a One World Everybody Eats cafe during the National Week, and of course, please visit Grace Cafe, our very own Pay What You Can community cafe. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're doing good. Okay, do I hear a motion that we accept that proclamation?
So moved that we accept the Everybody Eats Week proclamation.
Second.
Thank you, sirs. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is the banner request for the Relay for Life. Ms. Peak?
And Deb Lowe asked me to ask you all, so I am doing it on her behalf, that the banner for the Relay for Life event be put up tomorrow, if possible, and stay up until next Saturday, which is when the event happens at First Baptist Church on the bypass,
Okay.
from 5 to 9.
And that banner meets all of our requirements, yada, yada, yada?
Yes,
Okay.
5 to 11.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Likewise, we have another banner request from the Kentucky Barbecue Festival. Ms. Simmons, if you care to. Otherwise, we know what it's all about.
You should find out.
Yeah.
Yes, we're requesting to put up our banner. It's the same as it was last year. We only changed the date, so that should be simple. And we'd like to put it up August 19th, run it the 3 weeks until September 9th.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
sir. Thank you, sir. Any discussion?
What year is this?
This is our 9th year.
But,
Yep,
nice job.
thank you.
If there's no other discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Item 6 is the approval of the minutes of the 4 previous meetings, being July 22nd, July 22nd, July 24th, and August the 5th.
Move for approval of all those meetings you just mentioned.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cirrus. Any discussion?
Ashley, nice job.
I do have one small correction, Ashley, on the minutes for regular meeting, July 22nd, page 3. just a grammatical change from himself to he. Other than that, I'm good with it.
I won't retract my statement. You still did a good job.
If that's the only mistake she made, she's done really well. Any further additions, corrections? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 7, codes enforcement. Hi, Bridget.
Hi, good evening. Before you have the month of July, it's been pretty busy this month. We had total violations and inspections of 173. We issued 30 business licenses. We placed 39 liens and recovered 10 of those. We issued 1 citation for $100. We issued 65 parking citations. And I have included in here another call log for the month. And also, I think it was Commissioner Adkins asked about how much we paid for mowing yards. And so I included the bills that are included on this report so you could kind of see. Again, it depends on the size of the yard and what they've done, but there is a copy of those in there. And in addition to that, you add the administrative charge and the filing fees. So
On the mowing build, how's the collections go on that? Pretty well?
Well, that's part of those liens that you see there.
Okay.
So we send those letters out quarterly and are very diligent about trying to make sure that we collect them if at all possible. But sometimes they just sit there until the property gets sold.
Any questions from Ms. Lester?
I'll just play off of that. It's nice that we're taking care of this. It's unfortunate the bills are stacking up on us, but eventually if the property gets sold, I guess we'll be okay. But
We hope, but
Yeah.
yes, we try very hard to collect, but it's
Yeah.
one of those ongoing things.
As I have been the last several meetings, comment on your condemned properties and where they're at. And again, you listed 12, the top 12 we're working on, and more than half of those have positive things going on. So I think this commission's happy about that in terms of where we're going with that. And once again, for the public, what's left over that isn't going so good, some of it has to do with the folks just aren't there. Somebody's gone to the nursing home or we can't find the owner. So it's not from a lack of trying, but it just happens.
Exactly.
And I'll say thanks for the information about the grass cutting.
You're welcome.
Any further comments? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. City manager report, Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir. Tonight I have a half dozen or so items to briefly mention. First of all, with regard to continuing discussions about how we might improve Whisker Park and its fountain, we're meeting at 8:30 tomorrow. Engineering and I are meeting with Monica Bronstetter-Carroll here at City Hall to hear their suggestions on what we might do. So it's a little premature for this commission meeting, but we'll probably have a better idea of what options may be available to us at the next city commission meeting. We are making substantial progress on the completion of the Lexington Avenue Park and the splash pad. We've got about, as of this morning, or maybe as of this afternoon, about a third of the concrete, the red concrete surface poured. We've tested all of the hookups in terms of water pressure and so forth. Our Public Works Department is continuing to work in a really grand way in terms of pulling all of that together. We still have electrician and plumbers to do a certain amount of work there, but we may get that actually completed prior to the end of August. So we're continuing to work on making that complete. Our Public Works Department is also in the process of completing the ADA ramp across Lexington Avenue at the Danville High School. That's been kind of an issue we've talked about in preceding months and even years, I guess, in terms of getting that done. So that should happen pretty quickly, maybe today or tomorrow it'll be complete. As you can see, as you approach City Hall, we are making pretty rapid and substantial progress on our streetscape project down from the corner of 4th going down, now past, essentially past City Hall. We have some work remaining to do with the ADA railing that goes in front of our restaurant next door. It's a couple of weeks in getting that, until we can get that railing in and installed, and we have some possible technical issues to review with the contractor, and there might be a little bit of a final adjustment made in that, but we're making pretty rapid progress and are going to have at least the corner done. It may be done already for the grand opening of the Community Arts Building program next weekend. So that was one of our hard goals of getting past that, so that the public would have access to that building, and we've accomplished that. Regarding wayfinding, our signage, we completed that process some time ago, and we agreed with the commission in completing that study that we would have various phases of that brought before the City Commission for your approval as we implement that. In reality, given the work the state is doing here and the work we're doing on other projects, it's going to be a little while before the state will likely respond to our written request for encroachment permits, and so that's going to be a little bit more into the future rather than an immediate task that we can complete. The other thing I'll say with regard to the other state initiative in terms of our lane reductions and remarking on Main Street, I don't have any really scientific response from the community regarding that. I've heard very few negative comments. Most of them have been positive that I have heard in terms of it appears the traffic is moving slower, or it is easier to cross the street now and I feel safer doing it. Our staff has observed in the queue on turning at the light on 4th Street with the new signal light there that it typically completely empties with 10 or as many as 12 cars during a signal change, so seemingly things are proceeding maybe better than we first expected in terms of that trial run. I have heard the fact that the state was first intending to hold a meeting here tomorrow afternoon to talk about the ongoing project, but I have heard that they have canceled that meeting and we will not have it tomorrow afternoon. But thus far, they still intend to have a meeting towards the conclusion of the project to discuss the results with the public and with the commission at that point of making a determination. Do we proceed with making this a more permanent fixture, or do we revert to an earlier scheme? And so those are some of the major things that are going on. We've got, of course, some administrative activity helping our selected consulting firm, the Slavin Consultants, with getting all the materials they have together for the city manager search. They indicated to the City Commission, I believe, when they were last here, that you probably would have a job description and an advertisement done, I believe, this week, and they're working hard to complete that. So it's possible before the end of the week you'll see something to look at and to comment on regarding that approach. We've got a number of other projects administratively in the hopper that we've been working on for some time. Those include through our contractors, our wage and salary survey and a review of all positions paid by the city currently, that we expect to have that full report back early October. We're continuing to work with a variety of other projects, including our fire station final sort of suggested design tweaks and other related issues, but those are some of the major things that are happening at City Hall.
Any questions for Mr. Scott? The only comment I would make on the new arrangement out is that a reminder that the state didn't want to put that turn signal in, and kudos to Judge Hunt for holding their feet to the fire, and I hope he will do the same with a similar arrangement at 3rd and Main.
Yes, you've made that comment before, and that is correct. We were in that meeting where he made those comments, and I think it's appropriate to give the judge credit for that.
Yeah.
One other thing that I will say, we had a nice introduction of our new Parks and Recreation Supervisor tonight, which is great. We still are awaiting word from the county with regard to jointly funding Parks and Recreation activities, and I've received no further communication directly on our ordinance that we shipped over to them probably now 6 or 8 weeks ago, maybe a couple of months it's been. So that's still an issue to be resolved.
It's my understanding that that's on their agenda for tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll hear what that holds.
Yep. I want to say, Ron, thank you for covering some of that ground. I know there's nothing to report on some of these areas, but I think because we have been discussing it, it's nice that the public knows where we're at, even if it's a meeting tomorrow. At least we know where's there's progress going on, so appreciate that.
Anything else? If not, we'll move into the section I promised earlier called Hear the Public. This will be the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the podium to talk about anything that we haven't already talked about tonight. Mr. Kilby. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And Jason, if you would, introduce yourself for the listening and watching public.
Mike asked me to come. I had a meeting with him about a couple weeks ago, and on his behalf of his request, I said, sure, absolutely, I'd love to share the story. I'm a hometown-raised product, Jason Kilby, born and raised 1977, so a little bit of vintage from the 1900s. But at the same time, young enough to be able to try to do something crazy and audacious is launching a church and creating something that's a little bit vibrant and different in our hometown. And so about 8 years ago, God gave us a vision to do something. And it was around our hometown table out of Fazoli's in Danville, Kentucky, that the Center Point idea was birthed and launched. Since then, we have rapidly moved from location to location. Jenny Rogers was our birthing spot for a moment of gathering, a service. We moved then to the loft on Main, which is above the Chase Bank. We continued to increase our attendances. And then we saw some fruit that we just didn't see coming. And so that's what he asked me to come speak on behalf tonight. I give you a piece of paper, and on that it's pretty self-explanatory, but the vision behind it's a little bit grander and bigger, and I wanted to at least express the idea behind it. We have a passion and a dream to be able to do something for our city that no one's else hitting on. And there's a couple ideas in there that literally no one's hitting on, especially the idea of a teen center on Main Street. We're going to use the old furniture store, the old Danville Street, Main Street furniture store, to create an opportunity for our teenagers to call home or just have a safe place to come after school. We tested our kids, and we actually put a survey inside the school in bait, and we asked some simple questions. And some of those simple questions come back. They really didn't want money. They didn't want fame. They didn't want anything of hugeness or greatness. They just wanted a relationship. They wanted a mentorship. And so that stuck with me. And over the past 4 or 5 years, this is where we're heading with this. Our hope is to have the Teen Center up and fully functional by next year, 2020. A complete, clear vision of what's happening in our community, where we can offer not just educational opportunities, but arts and drama and other things that we have a dream for. And we're going to have that space to be able to do that. It's in the there at the corner of 2nd and Main. You have a huge building that we're going to be able to put this opportunity in. If you've never been in it, it's the old theater. And so the ceilings go up 24 feet. If you go in there right now, you can actually see some of the old murals that are still there. They're getting ready to be covered up by a fresh coat of paint and some new walls. But we're going to use a lot of that area to create space for our teenagers. Right there, right beside it, we're going to move Bluegrass Butter came in there with us, where we're ministering to all kinds of teenagers in our community. Each month and each week, if you did not know, we do something called Cupcake Love, and where we go into all the middle schools in Casey County, to Bergen, to Bull and Danville, and hopefully coming soon Lincoln, where we go into the middle schools and we give them a birthday card and a 2-pack of cupcake, and just tell them we love them, happy birthday. And it's crazy to see what has happened. If you push on back, you'll see something called the Core for Women. And we have seen so much fruit from this. We've seen women be encouraged where they're getting involved, not just physically, but spiritually and mentally. And we watch literally a community arise out of nothing. We launched that about 3 years ago, and now we're seeing fruit from it. You move on back, you'll see an area for offices, lobby, other meeting areas, but then that big auditorium in the back. Our hope is to provide something for the community that we don't have, an auditorium that can, function for the community. It won't so much be a church as it will be a place to gather. And so thus we're going to call this entire building the warehouse where life happens. You won't see Centerpoint's name on it. You'll see the warehouse where life happens. And because that's what we believe is going to happen on that street corner. You're going to see more people that come through this area, in this neighborhood, than you have in a long time, especially working side by side with the schools in the afternoon, with the core, and then with the auditorium. We hope to work with the downtown projects that's going on already, which we do, but we hope to see something literally that can change lives through this idea and this passion of ours. And so we wanted to at least share that, throw it on the table, because I know there's a lot of questions. What's going on? What have they been doing in there? And sneak your head in there. I promise you, it's pretty cool right now. It's been an amazing journey thus far. All the construction on 2nd Street, you can blame Earl for that one. But we've been able to at least finally get some new sewer in there and new water because the pipes were, I think, installed in 1950. I mean, it's been kind of crazy. But everything thus far has been an amazing journey. And as a pastor and as a leader, something that passionately, from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, verse 18, it just said, here's a guy that was big on passion for his hometown, and they started a great work. Well, I don't know what the great work is going to come out to be, but I know it's going to be good. And so I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to share the vision, the passion behind it. If you have any questions, please just come see me. And if not, questions to the public or forum.
Any questions, anyone? I think it's great what you're doing.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? No one else? Then we'll move right into commissioner comments. Ms. Terry, would you like to go first?
I was actually going to ask John Bell if he would like to talk about the National Ice Cream Day. Yeah.
Next Monday night, well, next Monday is National, actually, Soft Ice Cream Day, but any ice cream served in central Kentucky in August is going to be soft soon enough. So we're going to go into Michael Smith Park right at the new 2nd Street Bridge and give away ice cream. So the Parks Department will be out there with staff. We're going to give out at least 200 cups of ice cream, whoever comes. And just another opportunity to expose the public to another one of the parks that are within Danville and Boyle County. And just, once again, get people in the park. That's my mission on anything and everything we do, is to get people into the park. So there are flyers at the desk on the podium when you came in. Take 1, take 10, we'll make more. And just wanted to, like I say, I appreciate Commissioner Terry promoting that, welcoming me back to the podium, and like I say, just people in the park. That's what I want.
That's next Monday, 5 to 7.
Next Monday, 5 to 7.
If you need somebody a couple days ahead of time just to test
Sample
it.
them?
Yeah.
I'll put you about 78th on the list. And,
That's where I need to be on the list, yeah.
But I'll make sure if everybody falls out, I'll make sure and give you a call.
I appreciate that.
So he's in line after me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Cottle, anything?
I don't think so, Mayor.
Rick?
Sure. I do a shout out for the Heart of Danville. Another Main Street Live has come and gone. Good job. And it appears to me that the Soul of 2nd Street Festival again was a success, and that's a lot of work. That day was very busy actually because the farmers market happens in the morning, so logistically it was a lot of work for you and the CVB to make things happen. Good job, guys. Nice going. So, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but just an update for the City Commission and anybody else listening from the Trails Alliance. Trails Alliance, in conjunction with Parks and Rec, looked at a request for a pump track, found a spot in Millennium Park. They're ready to roll as soon as they have the money. So that's something new that'll be in our community that will satisfy a different segment of our youth, or some other segments that want an extra thing to do, I guess. Also, something that we've funded along with a grant, the Henson Trail is moving along really nicely, and so I'm kind of happy about that, and I just wanted to report that all to you folks here, and that's all I have.
Mr. Atkins?
I too want to commend the folks for the Soul of 2nd Street Festival, and most especially want to highlight the history conference that was held Friday at St. James AME Church. Community awards, community recognition given to Mr. Leon Gooch and to Reverend Everhart Walker, two senior African-American males in our community. And then Saturday, the weather cooperated, and it was just a really nice turnout and real good live entertainment. And I was really excited about seeing all the young elementary and preschool age children at the children's activity tables. Great turnout for that event. And then in the Advocate Messenger, the summer reading program, probably gonna get the number wrong, but 39,000 meals delivered throughout our community through the summer feeding program. That's really an amazing number. Free meals, 39,000. That reminds me too, we need to probably get the founder, the organizer of that program in here since she's retired and give her a little citywide recognition. You know that, because that's amazing.
Good idea.
I like it. She'd be great.
And if I could dovetail on your Soul of 2nd Street, kudos to Michael Hughes for spearheading that on his 71st birthday or 72nd birthday. Which one is it?
I don't know. You can get to 70, you stop counting. But and let's say kudos to Michael Hughes and his committee, because I try to give, Michael is the leader of the group, but there's a committee behind that, a real powerful force of people who work behind the scenes. And so let's make sure we say the Soul on 2nd Street Festival Committee that did an excellent job again.
The Stephen Powell exhibit is going to be installed up here at our Community Arts Center this week, and I think that will be a very unique opportunity to appreciate his work and perhaps appreciate his life. Likewise, they have a similar exhibit of his works down at the Maker's Mark Distillery. And I did not get to go down there when they had the Chihuly exhibit, but I intend to go for this one. And then, quick question to Dustin Duvall and our audience. Perhaps the Heart could do a survey of downtown merchants to kind of see what their input is with the new road configuration.
Dustin won't do that.
Mayor, thanks for the reminder. You want to maybe mention along with that display what's happening Saturday at Arts Center of the Bluegrass?
Continue on.
I believe it's this Saturday, so they went through a
right.
name change. It was well documented in Advocate Messenger. But officially, that's happening this Saturday evening. I don't remember what time. I have it written down, but about 2 hours of come and see us and come and talk to us and get to know our new name. So
Anything else? Anyone? If not, we'll move right on to the payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion to accept or amend the payment of the bills as presented.
Move for approval of the bills as per the bill list in the amount of $1,021,603.78.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 10 is resolution number 2019-08-12-01. This is the billing agreement with the Central Kentucky Interpreter Referral Service. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to pass resolution 2019-08-12-01 as presented.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Atkins. Thanks, Commissioner Cottle. Discussion?
Yeah, I want to point out that this is just not for sign language, and we appreciate what you folks are doing for us, and at a reasonable price, but it's also for Spanish interpreting the way I read it, so I appreciate that. We haven't utilized that at all, but certainly that's there, so thank you. And since I'm speaking, I have a question, and we do have Jennifer here. This rate, is that per interpreter? We always have two at this, or is it for the hour for both? Tell me.
Yeah, the rate is per interpreter.
Okay.
The reason that we have two is because when we have an interpreting assignment that goes 2 hours or over, we need to have two interpreters because we have to switch off because the mental fatigue after 2 hours would cause the error rate to go up. We don't want that to happen. And we have to staff these meetings as though they could go more than 2 hours because we never know how long they could go. So
That was the old days.
I've been here a long time. So sometimes they can go, they've gone 4 or 5, 6 hours before, but sometimes they've gone 15 minutes. We never know. So we have to staff them accordingly.
Okay, you got through. Since we're paying for this, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11 is ordinance number 1936. This is the compensation and classification for fiscal year 19 and 20. Ms. Peak?
Or
Oh, it's got your name by it.
It's actually Miss Rader.
Go ahead, Ms. Rader.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1936 and ordinance amending CDO 2-96 pertaining to the classification plan, compensation plan, and policies and procedures for city personnel.
Move for approval of the first reading of ordinance 1936.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? Everybody understand what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Is it the red that are the current changes and additions, right?
the red are the changes and the stricken through are the ones we're taking out. Strike through. I can go over those if you'd like, or Ron may want to, but we can go over them if you need to.
Ron, anything you want to add?
Well, the pay and classification is pretty straightforward and clear, I think. There are some housekeeping changes to the personnel policies, and for your knowledge as well as the public, we might, either Donna or I, go through on those very briefly. Just note the changes that are highlighted in red on the personnel changes.
Sure.
And I'll ask that Donna do that if she's prepared to do it.
Okay. In the personnel policies, on page 4 and 5 of the policy we added required language for the Kentucky Pregnancy Workers Act, which is required by law. It passed in June the 24th of this year. On page 8, We are saying that we may advertise in the local newspapers, or we may not, and we also have in there that we can put it on the city website. Due to cost, we may not put it in the paper every time. We have in the past, but it's a lot of cost to do that because we put it on Facebook. On page 11, look at page 11, midway down it says, we have added disruption in the workplace as a reason you can be disciplined. On page 13, 5B, if you will, we've added language to the harassment policy that's to be in compliance with the Kentucky Pregnancy Workers Act.
Wait a minute, page 13?
Page 18, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And on page 23, we have added language that is, so we will be compliant with IRS standards. That's where that says consistent with our internal revenue. On page 28, we have added, that upon examination of the compensation analysis, the city manager may recommend any necessary changes because that's who makes recommendations to the commission. On page 29, in I-1, we changed to may instead of shall for our compensation scale that you saw at the beginning of the packet after the ordinance, saying that if we bring someone in, we don't have to bring them in at the very base. We can move up if we need to for market or to negotiate if it's one position, so that we don't have to stay right at the bottom. Also on that page, you'll see that we added half a day for Good Friday as a holiday. It used to be a holiday for the city, but we're adding that back. Just try to stay comparable to the county. There's still a holiday ahead of us, but this will take us up to one holiday less than them.
So why are we doing half a day?
Page 82, go all the way back to page 82. It's just correction of language in that policy administrator section. Took out the for and took out the her and added to. And then on page 86, we've changed it said an applicant who fails a drug test may not be considered for employment for a period of 2 years. We've changed that to a period of 1 year. And on page 87, it just is, says that if there's a problem, basically the policy administrator shall promptly notify the city manager, which wasn't in there before. And on page 114, we've added hepatitis A and B vaccinations are paid for our employees by the city. That we used to do only B, but hepatitis A is now required of our sewer workers and others that weren't. And those are the changes that are in there, in the policies.
I might add that our personnel attorney reviewed the changes requested by staff with regard to compliance with state and federal law on the pregnancy issues and so forth, and agreed that those changes were necessary, and he approved those changes. And the other sort of technical changes, or making it gender neutral, or the other sort of changes that were made were recommendations that I and Donna worked on together to recommend to you. And with regard, again, to the 1/2 day of vacation being requested or recommended, we want to be competitive with other governments in the area with regard to our benefits package. And I've observed over quite a number of years here that it's a pretty quiet afternoon on Good Friday. Most of the business occurs that morning, and employees, like others, sometimes need to travel to visit families and attend church and that type of thing.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
That was the only question I had. I was excited about the full day for Good Friday, but I understand why it's half a day at this point. And the other comment I want to make is that Since this is the first reading, this thing is 122 pages long. Means it's 61 pages front and back. That we leave this in the book and that you don't have to be duplicated again for the second reading. That's a lot of paper.
True that. If there's no other questions or comments, roll call, please.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Ordinance number 1937, ad valorem tax rates for the fiscal year 19 through 20. Mr. Scott.
You have before you the proposed tax rate ordinance for first reading, and I have it in my file here somewhere, I think. We basically are required to go through the certification of the tax rolls, or the county government rather is. And after we receive that, we do our own computation as to what opportunity we have to take the minimum adjustment that is possible, which is the compensating tax rate, which generates about the same amount of revenue in the year ahead as was generated in the prior year, exclusive of new growth. That computation resulted in a 1/1000th of 100 increase to the new tax rate of 0.144 per 100 of assessed value. Currently, it's 0.143. So you won't see the difference on your tax bill, but collectively among all, it will generate approximately the same amount of revenue in the year ahead as in the preceding year. Again, we did not, in our collective discussions about the budget, while the city can always use new revenue, and if we were to, increase above a 4% level, it would have to go to the public hearing, and a vote of the people could be required. But this is simply a status quo calculation. And in our budget preparation discussions, again, we did not feel this particular year that we needed to increase property taxes, so it's not recommended that we do so.
Okay.
This first reading?
This is the first reading. Okay. Okay, do I hear a motion that we accept ordinance number 1937, first reading?
Ashley needs to read it, I think, didn't she?
Oh.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1937, an ordinance establishing ad valorem
Such
tax
details.
rates for fiscal year 2019, 2020, and penalties for non-payment.
Thank you.
I'll move for approval of ordinance number 1937, first reading.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Discussion?
And once again, just to clarify, we're not raising taxes, we're doing what we have to do. Yeah. So there's a small increase, but we have to do this.
Well, I will let Mr. Dexter respond to that. It is the compensating tax rate, which is the minimal amount of tax rate adjustment required annually to keep the same amount of taxes. Now, in prior years, I think I've said that it is a requirement. I have since learned that you do not have to actually adopt the compensating tax rate. You could go the other direction, and I believe I'm correct in that, Mr. Dexter, but with inflation and the cost of everything that the city has to pay for, just keeping the same is what I would recommend rather than a tax increase or a tax reduction, and this compensating tax rate does that.
Okay. There's no other,
I might also add something. In this ordinance also, you're actually lowering your tangible rate because that's how it came out. Your tangible rate, because the tangible property went up, it dropped from 1.84 to 1.70. So you are actually lowering that actual tax rate, and that motor vehicles is staying the same, just for the record. That's all in this same ordinance.
I'm glad you made that clear.
I thank both of you for explaining that, because what we want to make sure, well, clear to everybody is that we're not levying a new tax, big increase. We're actually, as you just explained, towing the line.
All right. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
Yes.
Commissioner Caudle?
Yes.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes, ma'am.
Item 13 is Resolution 2019-08-12-02. This is in respect to a disclosure for a vendor. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The resolution discloses that there is a familiar relationship between the vendor that is performing pressure washing duties for the city, specifically at Tower Hill, and an IT department employee, being the father of the employee, not related to the work. I would make a correction. I think that $2,500 should be $4,000. The vendor's name, I think, is Mark McClure Lawn Service.
All right, do I hear a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept Resolution 219-08-2202.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Discussion?
Sure. So that was on our agenda as 08, but I think, is this a typo here? I'm looking at 04.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Just want
sir.
to make sure that that's corrected.
Okay. With that correction made, any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 14 is resolution number 2019-08-12-03. Mr. Coffey, you'll continue on.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. In front of you is the Koorsen Fire and Security Commercial Monitoring and Fire Alarm Service Agreement that the company presents to us. Previously, that was covered by the CAC folks in-house, and staff has done maintenance on that system for some time and find it reasonable that the fire department have access to that contract, and so therefore we are rolling that in-house. Need authorization to execute the service agreement, if you all agree.
Do I hear a motion?
Move, excuse me. Move for approval of Resolution 2019-08-1203.
Thank you, Commissioner Caudle. Is there a second?
I'll second it, even though I ventriloquist the first.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Is there any further business to come before us?
We do have need for an executive session to deal with personnel issue
And property acquisition, Ron.
and property acquisition.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion, Mr. Caudle, that we,
Let's just do them all. Well, I will make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61810-1F, and that we go into executive session also to discuss visual property acquisition for which publicity at this present stage might or would likely affect the value per KRS 61810-1B.
all right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
He wants you to do it, but I'll do it second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned from regular meeting and into executive session. Do I hear a motion that we move back into regular session?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We're in regular session. Madam Clerk?
Staff would ask that you promote Jerry Domitian to the position of fire lieutenant as with the usual probationary measures.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any discussions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else? If there's no other business to come before, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Have a good evening.